I'm back with Brian Bentz, President and Chief Executive Officer of PowerStream. And Brian, earlier in the show, we talked a little bit about reward and recognition, and I want to talk to you a little bit about how you're using that. But the first thing I want to do is I want to separate the definition of reward and recognition. And I find that a lot of people think that they're one and the same, because when they recognize people, they seem to think that a gift card or something needs to go with it. And I think that too many organizations fail to acknowledge or recognize just how powerful recognition in and of itself can be without a reward, and how it needs to be done on a regular basis, not just quarterly or at the biannual luncheon. Share with us some of your perspective on how you use recognition without the reward to motivate the behaviors you're looking for.
Well, it is about being visible, a lot of it, as a leader of the organization. And we talked about safety before being a very important component. One of the things we do is we have all of our management staff do field visits. So we have guys out in the field. They're pulling
your boots dirty.
They're pulling conductor in the middle of January.
So they actually go out and do some work as opposed to just a visit.
Well, we don't touch. We don't touch anything.
Oh, because you're not allowed to touch it. You screw it up.
Yeah, exactly. But we do go out. I go out.
Right.
And see the work crews, and we do an inspection. But it really is a time to say thank you.
Yes.
I mean, you're out here in these elements, keeping the lights on for people in the wind and the rain and the snow.
Yeah.
And, you know, we are thankful. But I do bring some coffee cards too, though, so I guess that's a reward.
Well, but
it's recognition,
they're insignificant
and
relative. I mean, you know, you're not bringing $500 coffee cards. You're maybe bringing a $5 coffee card, or you're bringing coffee and donuts. I mean, it's not about the reward. It's about taking the time to leave your office, go out and see them in their work environment, say thank you, acknowledge the good work they've done.
And the other one, speaking of coffee, we have sessions called Coffee with Brian. So I will meet with 10 or 15 of the staff, and it's very informal, and it's just, what are you thinking? Here's what I'm thinking. What do you like? What don't you like? Talk about anything. Yeah. And talk about, you know, the Leafs. Well, we can't talk about them now because they're not.
Well, and the topic is always very skewed.
Yes, exactly. But it is a chance to talk to, you know, our people. And again, express, you know, how much you value them.
How do people get to be invited to a coffee with Brian?
I have my friend in our HR department who is really, you know, knows the work environment. Right. And so HR sets up the meetings. I will look at who's on the list and make sure that, you know, maybe you want to add this person or not this. Try to get around to all of them. I mean, if you do 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5 a year, you know, that's 50, 60 people in a 500-person organization. Yep. And then, you know, just managing by walking around and, you know, and just
an old tried and true technique. Yeah. I love the coffee with Brian idea, and you know, we used to have another organization. It was Breakfast with Bob.
There you go.
So you got to get the name right.
Yeah, that's right.
And but what was great about it, and I encourage all of my clients to do something like this, is it creates an open dialogue. And you're right. You can talk about the Leafs. You can talk about anything you want, but invariably, you will start to develop a little bit of a more personalized relationship. They will share information and insights with you. They will ask you the questions you won't get on the surveys.
No, that's right.
And now you have the opportunity to go, oh my gosh, I had no idea that they didn't know that. Let me make sure I get that information out, or they'll provide you with an insight that's kind of like, wow, we need to do a little bit more investigating on that.
Exactly.
It's and really inexpensive.
Very inexpensive.
It's coffee and and donuts, or coffee and muffins, etc. But powerful tool.
Getting the pulse on what people are thinking and feeling.
The reason I asked who came was if there was a very specific way of doing that, is that some organizations will use that also as an opportunity to recognize people on a regular basis. Is that people who have, stepped up and done something that they get to have that opportunity. Because I think a lot of people that are sometimes in a senior leadership position forget how important it is to interact with them. I talked to you know, a senior leader in one organization, and I will tell you up front, he was a really nice person, genuine, funny, great sense of humor. And I said, "Do you think you're intimidating?" And he was like shocked by this conversation. Me? Intimidate? You know. But he was. And the reason he was so intimidating, because he had the senior position, he was well regarded in his industry, you know, he was acknowledged to be an expert.
Right.
And so the typical average employee thought, well, what would I have in common with that person? I could never talk to him. So when he went out and walked and got his boots dirty or had coffee with Brian, it meant so much to these people, and then they got to know him a little bit, and that also has a huge impact on the culture of the organization.
Ultimately, any organization is about human relationships and relating to people at any level. The you know, we try to. I always say I can't do it alone. No one can do it alone. You can only do it through the people who work in the organization, and you have to appreciate, respect, and be thankful for that. And if you do that, then it gets reciprocated.
Well, and I think that really is, you know, one of the maybe the most important leadership competency is you know, there's lots of things we can learn if we go to school, and we can learn the tools and techniques, but recognizing that we are mutually dependent on everyone that we work with, and treating people with respect, I mean, you're always going to get better work effort from the people that you work with, and that's what the employee engagement stuff is all about.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, any other thoughts that you would like to share with us today about, you know, things that come to mind about leadership in your organization?
I think we said it at the beginning. It really is about setting the course, getting people excited about, you know, that path, that journey that we're going to have together, recognizing, respecting, and thanking them for it, and building on your successes, and being honest, fair, and transparent. Those, to me, are the cornerstones of what makes an organization effective.
So let's just say that we've done all that, and PowerStream, like many organizations, has a variety of employees that have come in at various times. What happens when somebody just doesn't get it, doesn't want to be part of it? I think that, and I think that's an important topic maybe to end off, you know, we've got just a couple minutes, but I think it's important because, you know, what we've talked about sounds really good. You know, it's really lovely. All is good, you know, and the poor guy sitting out there saying, yeah, that all sounds great for you, Brian, but I've got a problem. How do we deal with those problems?
You have to deal with them head on. You know, we talked, it's about maintaining those values. And if you talk about honesty and transparency, it's not always roses sometimes. And you give people, you be fair and honest with them. You give them as many chances as you can. But sometimes it just doesn't work, and the fit's not there. And if the fit's not there, you've got to make the hard decision. You have to make it for the good of the organization. And sometimes, hopefully, for the good of the employees, so that they can move on, you know, with different career path. But it does send a message. It sends a message to the organization. You are willing to make tough decisions to maintain those values that
and I think that you've referred to it a couple times. It's the values. You identify the values of the organization. You identify the goals and objectives. You're crystal clear in what they are, and you can't make that tough decision if you haven't done that stuff first. And that's really a leadership responsibility. But once you have, then as a leader, you're responsible to make the decisions according to the values you've espoused for the organization. And so, you know, there's not, you know, once you get out of, you know, the fundamental illegality of certain values, which we've heard all too much of in the press lately, but once you put aside that, different people's values are not necessarily right or wrong, they're just different. And to your point about, you know, maybe they will be more comfortable in another environment. That's very fair, and you're actually doing them a favor.
I believe you are.
But the thing that I think we'll just close up on is you know, you made the comment, you've got to do it for the organization. I mean, if someone is not pulling their weight, if someone is not carrying their load, then they're putting extra weight on everyone else on the team, and that's not fair to the rest of the team.
Not fair to the rest.
And wouldn't that energy within the organization be better used if everybody was working in the same direction and everybody was clear on their values, knew where we were going. We'd end up with one of the 50 most engaged workplaces.
There you go. Teamwork is a powerful thing.
It truly is. It truly is. And being able to work as a team to be able to accomplish those common goals, I mean, that's where also that sort of peer-to-peer recognition comes in. You know, again, you go back to the analogy of hockey. You know, when my teammate does well, I want to congratulate them for doing great, because that's going to motivate them to do it again, but it's also going to motivate everybody else that sees it, that says, okay, that's the behavior that gets me the encouragement and the acknowledgement.
That's a good analogy.
Brian, we're out of time. Believe it or not, an hour has just flown by.
Sure has.
So first of all, thank you for your time today and for being so honest and accountable and transparent with some of your insights. I want to thank my guest, Brian Bentz, President and Chief Executive Officer of PowerStream, for joining us today. For more on the show and to share your feedback, please go to rogerstv.com. You can also connect with me online at billhogg.ca, where you'll find lots of information and articles on building a high-performing work environment at your business, or to simply ask a question. Thank you for joining us. Our goal is to inspire leaders like you to accelerate performance. Best wishes for your continuous improvement.